The government on Tuesday signed a fresh agreement with the U.S. government for the return of over $23 million looted by the late dictator Sani Abacha. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami represented the federal government at the agreement signing ceremony, held at the Federal Ministry of Justice in Abuja on Tuesday.
Mary Leonard, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, signed the agreement on behalf of her country. She said $23 million adds to the $311.7 million Abacha loot repatriated from the U.S. to Nigeria in 2020. And of course, this has made loads of conversations across, the social media mostly, which I saw yesterday.
It's not like a seasonal movie series.
Yeah.
Episode 1, Abacha loots. Episode 2, we keep having the repeat of. It makes me wonder how much money did this man loot when he was alive.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think about it. But then another concern that lots of people raise is what happens to the money when it's returned. There have been concerns about mismanagement of these funds that's relooting the already returned looted money. And it's basically stems from a place of distrust.
And these are, quite important questions that must be asked because, and it's not just with this current administration, even with previous governments, they have continued, to return funds, and there have also been questions over time as to what was done with with the money that was, of course, sent back to Nigeria. I also have concerns with regards what exactly you describe as loot, and are we going to have other people that would also maybe be found guilty of similar crimes, and have their money sent back to Nigeria? The value of the currency between when it was taken and where it is currently also is something that economists would also have to look at and talk about things like that. And so, well, kudos to the Nigerian government for being able to get that money back. And we genuinely hope that it's put into something.
They've given an explanation this morning when we're taking the papers. They had given an explanation that the money will be used for the establishment or the repairs or what they'll be working on bridges, right? And we hope that that's what is done, and that the money they have said is that they are allocating for these bridges will be used for the exact reasons that they said that they are allocating these monies. And there wouldn't be some corners that are being caught. The U.S. government signed an agreement with Nigeria to repatriate $23 million Abacha loot, and we're having that conversation this morning. And joining us to have a look into this is a former editor, Daily Independent newspaper, and publisher, the niche newspaper IKECHUKWU AMAECHI. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. My pleasure.
All right. Now, the Abacha 5, as this latest repatriated loot is referred to, is said to be utilized for the ongoing Presidential Development Infrastructural Funds, PIDF projects, namely Abuja-Kano Road, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the second Niger Bridge under the supervision of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA. How feasible is this, seeing that nothing was done with the previous ones?
Well, that's the problem that you have when a government seems to have credibility deficit. When the citizens don't believe what their government tells them, it becomes a problem. Like the minister rightly pointed out, this is the 5th tranche of the Abacha loot that is going to be repatriated to Nigeria. The question is, what was done with the previous tranches that were much higher than what is being repatriated now? Nigerians don't seem to believe that those previous tranches were deployed effectively. In fact, there is a school of thought that believes that what happens is that when all these monies are repatriated, they are shared again by those who are in power now, and the money goes all the way. So when the minister assures now that this 5th tranche will be used in executing some legacy projects, including the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the second Niger Bridge, and all that, there is enough ground for people to be skeptical. But we'll wait and see. The money is not yet here. We'll wait and see how the money will be deployed. But don't forget that even as we speak now, there is also a controversy over some $300 and something million that was paid as consultancy fee to some nebulous people who helped, consultants who helped in negotiating these monies being repatriated. It has been a back and forth between the Governors Forum and the Minister of Justice, Malami. So it's a whole lot of issues, and when there is credibility gap, like I said earlier, it becomes much more difficult for people to believe what their government tells them.
Well, now we've called this one Abacha 5. There might be an Abacha 6. How much longer do you think we're going to keep hearing about the Abacha loot? And is this also a description of stolen funds, or it's an actual name for funds looted by the military president? Is it, are these all linked to Sani Abacha in person, or are these is it possible that these funds are maybe linked to other personalities, but of course are just named Abacha loot?
Well, you are. That's a very good question. Yesterday, some people actually raised that issue. And don't forget, let me draw your mind to the fact that the president now, President Muhammadu Buhari, once said that Abacha was not corrupt. Of course, he was in Abacha's government. So he once said that Abacha was not corrupt. So 20-something years or more after the man died, every month, every year, we are hearing of Abacha loot being returned. And here was a man who ran a government that was a pariah government that was not having anything to do with the West and America. He never traveled and all that. So how come, and that's the question people are raising, how come that these Western countries that declared the government a pariah government, particularly after the hanging of the Ogoni human rights activist, Ken Saro-Wiwa, how come that these governments were taking money which they knew was looted funds from Nigeria and stashing in their bank vaults all over Europe and America? So that has led some people to say, well, maybe, because Abacha is dead and a dead man does not talk. So people are conveniently putting all these monies looted from our treasury into what they call now Abacha loot. So Abacha loot has become a generic name for all the funds looted by previous military governments, and many of them are still alive. But because they are still alive, some of these things cannot be directly attributed to them. So it is convenient to say it is Abacha loot because the man is dead and can no longer talk or defend himself. So it's a possibility, because it doesn't really make sense to say that all these monies were looted by a man and stashed in the vaults of banks of countries that actually had nothing to do with him, that declared him a persona non grata, and that made his government a pariah government and Nigerian state a pariah state. So how come we are still doing businesses with him to such an extent that all these billions were looted and stashed in their bank vaults?
Very interesting perspective you shared with us there. But we'll be bringing more updates on the story, and we thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning.
You're welcome. My pleasure.